Well, if you like cold weather, I've got some good news for you. Things are changing, and it always shocks me on this channel. I get asked a lot of times, when is it going to snow in my city? Well, I don't have the answer to that, but what I can tell you is this cold air that's up across Alaska into the Northwest Territories, where it's 20, maybe even close to 30 below zero, some of this cold air is going to move south. Now, it's not going to be this cold, but it is going to move south with a weather pattern change that looks like it's going to take shape as we head into next week. Here's where we are now, heading into next week. This could be significant for the East, maybe even the central United States too. So we're going to get into all of that today, a lot to cover. First, I want to say thanks, guys, for watching. Also, someone said there's too much jib jab at the beginning. I don't know what that means other than just shut up and give me the weather. But I got to shout out to you guys. I mean, we hit 10,000 subscribers, all thanks to you guys. So shout out to you once again. Thank you so much. All right, jib jab is done. Back to the serious stuff. All right. This is where we're headed, I think. And again, I think this is a big change for many parts of the central and eastern United States as this cold air gets tapped into here across Alaska. First of all, we are seeing a system that's moving to the east. A lot of fires going here into the northeast, into parts of New Jersey, New York. We've also got some fires back here into West Virginia, Southwest Virginia too. Fortunately, back in here, even into parts of Kentucky, this moisture is going to increase enough that we will actually precipitate some rain out, and that's good news. Unfortunately, as that moisture meets that dry air, it's not going to really do much. In fact, take a look at the future radar. Almost draw a line here. You can kind of see how everything moves to the east tonight. And by the way, there could actually be some frozen precip here in the sheltered mountain valleys of West Virginia and far western Virginia. Not a huge deal, but still pretty wild to see is that cold, dry air in place wet bulbs the temperature down below freezing with a little bit of icing possible, especially early Thursday. But there's that line, if you will, just holding the line with another low off the East Coast. That is preventing this upper low and this system from moving north and east. If anything, it starts to push it really southeast around it, and then this low moves back to the west. But it's not going to move far enough west to bring the rain that we need into places like New Jersey, New York, and other parts of New England. A strong storm out west. This is setting the stage for our big cool down that's on the way as we tap into some of that air. But before it gets cold, it's going to get warm once again. So after we deal with this system here across the central and eastern U.S., an upper high centered here over the northern Gulf is going to keep us warm. Winds out of the west-southwest, so temperatures on the way up. Across the west, cold, snowy, some rain and snow here, especially into the mountains. I want to also quickly talk about what might be happening in the tropics. This might be our second chance of rain, and it's going to be impacted also by that cold that's moving south. There's a lot of moving parts here. It's expected to become a tropical storm over the next couple of days here. Meander, it may move toward Honduras a little closer. You can see not a lot of movement with this. This afternoon's GFS also keeping it to the south, and it doesn't bring it north, but the afternoon European, well, it had a much different outcome. In fact, bringing it north, strengthening it as it moves toward Florida, but rapidly moving it across the peninsula. So still a lot of different solutions out there. This will get refined in the coming days. All right, now let's go beyond Sunday into Monday, because this is where the real change starts to happen. In the upper levels, we've got a lot of blocking taking place up here across Greenland. When that happens, you open the door for cold to move south. And I think that's what we see. With all of that blocking in place, nothing is going to be able to move this way. It's going to be forced down into the lower 48. So now we have a highly amplified pattern still persisting with a ridge across the west, big trough digging in the east with a strong ridge here up across Greenland. Again, displacing a lot of that cold air that's here across Western Canada down into the lower 48 with a strong north to northwest flow. This is looking more and more likely now as we head toward next Wednesday. So we're still just talking about a week or so out. This has been on the models now for days. It continues to persist. So I'm starting to definitely believe it more and more and more. What does it mean as far as snow goes? I think that's still up in the air, but this would be very significant. There could be shortwave troughs embedded in this. That would bring rounds of snow showers. This isn't the type of storm that blows up and moves up the East Coast, but it's definitely much colder. So let's break it down on our surface map here with the rain here moving, again, not very far to the north and east as we move through Thursday into early Friday with rain and snow out west. There's that system trying to move into the northeast. It doesn't make it very far west, maybe a few light showers into parts of Maine, a few snow showers out west to here into the Intermountain West where it is going to be quite chilly. Strong southerly flow starts to develop out ahead of this area of low pressure that starts to move through the Canadian prairies and the northern United States. That's going to bring a few rain and snow showers here as we head into Sunday and Monday. And another storm system slamming into the west, bringing that atmospheric river back. Some more rain and snow here from British Columbia south down into the Cascades, into the mountains of Idaho, Washington, also into the mountains of Montana eventually. And that snow could be quite heavy too, especially in the mountains. A few light rain showers. Do we get some showers by Monday and Tuesday into the Northeast? I wouldn't bet on it, but at least there's a chance. There will be a better chance, though, I think, with this second storm. Now, I don't know how much snow we see on the backside of this. I don't even know if we're going to see a storm track that looks exactly like this. But this might actually bring a little bit of snow to parts of Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin, if you're to believe this. Again, we are now looking at about a week away, so there could be a lot of changes. But at this point, we might actually be able to tap into some moisture, too, here from what would be Sarah if this storm is able to move north. At the very least, I think some moisture will move north, and that would bring some rain showers into the Northeast. And then your upper low spinning here, surface low tries to develop off the East Coast, but it sort of gets wrapped up and around this upper low pretty quickly. And this would mean a lot of lake effect snow, I think, especially with unfrozen lakes that are pretty warm too. And that would cause a lot of instability. Upslope snow showers here into the mountains of Virginia, West Virginia, maybe even down into North Carolina. And I'm also going to make the argument, when you normally see a setup like this, you get these shortwave troughs that get embedded in that. A lot of the models don't do a very good job of picking those up, and that could bring potentially a few more rounds of rain and snow showers. Let's look at the European just for comparison's sake, because I want to show you that it is also picking up on pretty much all of these systems. There's that weak system we showed moving through southern Canada into Ontario as we head now into Monday. And here comes our kicker system, if you will, that will set the stage for that cold air to move south. Notice it's a little bit further to the west than the GFS that I just showed you. So that would keep the snow back into parts of South Dakota, North Dakota, into Nebraska, eventually moving into parts of Minnesota. And it doesn't wrap the low up nearly as strong. In fact, it brings the cold air much further to the west, down into Texas, eventually into parts of the eastern United States. Still around that same time period, it's picking up these little lobes of cold air that are embedded in this northwest flow. So I think the pattern is looking likely to change. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to get colder. And it's all because of this huge blocking pattern right here that sets up around the 18th, 19th, and 20th across Greenland. And that's just going to push that cold air south. This has been persistent. I also said watch Europe too, because when it gets cold in Europe, it usually gets cold in the east. I said that in one of the videos I did last week. I'm going to back it up to where Europe is right now as we head into Monday and Tuesday, expected to get pretty cold because of this blocking pattern. And usually that leads, at least is foretelling, to the cold that usually is to follow in the eastern United States. All right. That's at least what I think is going to happen. How cold are we talking? Below normal. I mean, no doubt about it. This would be where your temperatures modeled out on Wednesday would be early Wednesday morning. There comes the cold now up across Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, dropping south as we move into Thursday as our front pushes off toward the East Coast, waking up to temperatures in the 20s and 30s here. High temperatures likely in the 30s and 20s across the mountains, 30s back here across the Midwest, 20s up into Wisconsin. I mean, come on, you guys are tough. This isn't cold, but still, it's much different than what we're seeing right now. And then as we head into Friday morning, temperatures likely dropping into the teens and 20s up here across parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, also parts of Michigan. The lower part of Michigan may actually be in the 30s. And look, the water across the lakes, again, pretty warm. So will we see lake effect snow? Buffalo, this could be some snow for you. Again, just keep an eye on things as we get closer. This looks drastically different, right, than what we have been looking at lately for much of the east, including the northeast too. A wider look at how all this wraps up. This would be that cold air, that low that spins across the Great Lakes, just pulling that Arctic air south all the way to the Gulf Coast. And then once we get beyond that, I don't know that I would put any stock in what I'm about to show you, but I do want you to see that this looks significantly different than what we've seen toward the beginning of the month. Don't track any individual storm, but the idea is this cold air is moving further south. Where does the battleground set up? That's where your storms will be. All right, that's all I got. See you next time.